Welcome to the Explainer. So, you're gearing up to lay down some stunning new flooring in your Brisbane home. You rip up the old carpets or tiles, and boom, you're staring at a renovator's absolute worst nightmare, a wildly uneven concrete subfloor. Whether you're dreaming of sleek laminate, modern vinyl, or maybe a flawless epoxy finish, an uneven floor is a massive headache that's going to completely derail those plans if you don't tackle it head-on.
It brings up the ultimate DIY anxiety, doesn't it? I mean, you want that perfectly flat, pristine surface, but concrete work, it can feel incredibly intimidating. So the big question is, can you actually tackle this floor leveling process yourself, or are you immediately in over your head and need to call in the professionals? Well, you are in exactly the right place to figure that out. Consider this explainer your ultimate decision and action guide. We're going to break down exactly when you can DIY this and exactly how to pull it off flawlessly if you do.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the uneven floor problem itself. Then, we'll tackle that big question, DIY or hire a pro. After that, we'll cover the essential tools and products. Fourth, we'll walk through our step-by-step guide. And finally, we'll wrap up with weather, curing, and some common FAQs. All right, starting with Section 1, the uneven floor problem, understanding the basics. So what exactly is the magic fix here? Well, it's a self-leveling compound. Essentially, it's a cement-based dry powder. When you mix it up with water, it becomes this liquid solution that you pour right onto your prepared slab. And the beauty of it? It naturally flows outward to find its own level. It's literally doing the heavy lifting for you, filling in all those minor undulations and hollows to create a remarkably smooth, flat surface. Honestly, this stuff is revolutionary. If you've ever tried to perfectly trowel a traditional cement mix flat enough for, say, modern vinyl flooring, well, you know it takes a master's touch. This compound gives you that flawless baseline your new flooring absolutely demands, so it doesn't crack or wear unevenly down the line. Moving on to Section 2, DIY or hire a pro, the decision tree.
Now, you really need to be honest with yourself here. If your Brisbane home has a generally flat concrete floor with just some minor dips, we're talking under 5 millimeters, and it's a relatively small room with just localized hollows, you can absolutely handle this yourself. But, as we know, older homes in Southeast Queensland can have some pretty severe issues. If you drop a long straight edge on your floor and you're seeing gaps or slopes over 10 millimeters, or, and this is a big one, if your slab is experiencing structural movement, flexing, or showing signs of moisture, stop right there. Do not pour compound over a flexing or severely sloped floor. It is just going to crack and fail on you. In those danger zones, you absolutely need to call a pro. And you're probably wondering, how much does it actually cost for someone to level a floor in Brisbane? Well, hiring a pro can run you anywhere from $30 to over $80 per square meter, depending on the severity of the issue. I know that sounds like an investment, but trust me, it is vastly cheaper than having to rip up and replace a completely failed DIY pour. Which brings us to Section 3, essential tools and products, gearing up. Okay, so you've decided your floor is in the DIY safe zone. Awesome. But having the right gear is totally non-negotiable, because once you mix this compound, it literally becomes a high-stakes race against the clock. Here is your must-have toolkit. You're going to need a 2-meter straight edge, a clean 20-liter bucket, a paddle mixer attachment, a really powerful corded drill, a spike roller, a gauge rake, and, of course, your safety gear like gloves, glasses, and a respirator. I always find it kind of hilarious that a product called self-leveling compound actually requires a ton of frantic human intervention. Seriously, the last thing you want is to be scrambling around looking for a tool mid-pour while your compound is actively setting. Get all of this stuff laid out before you even think about opening a bag of powder. Now, you have several high-quality compound options available in Brisbane that offer the high compressive strength and low shrinkage you need to prevent cracking. Two really popular choices are Bostik Ultra Level C500, which is fantastic for smoothing out concrete slabs, and Semimax DL59, which is known for being high flow and just great for general purpose leveling. But whatever product you decide to go with, there's one absolute golden rule. You must always pair the compound with the recommended primer from the exact same brand. And this brilliantly illustrates why. The primer is what actually creates the bond between your old dusty slab and the brand new compound. Don't mix and match brands here. All right, Section 4, the step-by-step guide, making it happen. If you're doing this yourself, the entire operation really boils down to 3 core phases. Step 1 is prep and prime. Step 2 is mix and pour. And Step 3 is spread and dry. It sounds pretty simple on paper, right? But the devil is entirely in the details here. Let's break down exactly what happens in each of these critical stages so you don't get caught off guard. We begin with step 1, preparation. Now, I need to get serious here for a second because skipping this stage is, without a doubt, the most common mistake people make. Pouring your compound on a dirty, unprepared surface basically guarantees a weak bond and a totally failed project. You have got to vacuum up every single speck of dust. You need to grind away any old adhesives, paint, or weird high spots right down to the bare concrete. Then, and people always forget this, you are pouring a liquid. So you have to dam the perimeter and any door openings with timber strips and tape. Otherwise, it's going to flow right into the next room. Finally, apply that manufacturer's recommended primer and let it dry completely. So the crucial point when it comes to the mixing phase is that precision is everything. Let me quote this directly so it sinks in. Don't be tempted to add extra water to make it flow better. This will weaken the final mix and can cause it to become dusty or crumble. Actually, scratch that. It will cause it to crumble. You have to follow the exact water-to-parter ratio printed on the bag to the absolute letter. No eyeballing it. And once you add that water, things move fast. You gotta mix and pour quickly. You really want to use a corded drill with your paddle mixer. Why corded? Because a cordless drill just might not have the torque required to churn through this heavy, thick mud. Plus, if its battery dies mid-mix, your entire batch is completely ruined. No way around it. Once the mix is smooth and lump-free, start pouring in one corner and work your way outward. And get in there immediately with your spike roller. Rolling over the wet compound is absolutely essential for releasing trapped air bubbles before the surface sets up. It is literally your ticket to that flawless finish. Which leads us to our final section, Section 5, Weather, Curing, and FAQs. Beating the Brisbane climate.
Okay, take a breath. The frantic part is over. Now we're gently guiding the spread and just waiting for it to cure. While the compound does largely self-level, you'll still use your gauge rake or trowel to gently coax it into the corners. Just remember, you only have a working time of about 20 to 30 minutes per batch before it starts to get stiff. Now let's talk about the weather, because Brisbane's intense heat and high humidity can seriously impact how this compound sets and even extend your cure time. You definitely want to avoid pouring on incredibly hot or muggy days. Generally speaking, you can have light foot traffic on it in about 4 to 24 hours. But, and this is a big but, you absolutely must wait for the full cure time stated on your specific bag before you even think about installing any new flooring on top of it.
Before we wrap up, let's address a very common FAQ. People are always asking us, hey, can I just use self-leveling compound over my existing tiles? Well, the answer is yes, but with a massive caveat. Your preparation remains just as vital. Those existing tiles must be securely bonded to the floor, absolutely no loose or hollow ones. They have to be thoroughly scrubbed and cleaned of any waxes or dirt, and they must be properly primed with a product that is specifically designed to adhere to tile. If you skip that step, your expensive new compound will just peel right off the floor like a bad sunburn. Which brings us to our final thought. Armed with a real understanding of the preparation required, the tools you need, and those crucial thresholds for a DIY approach versus hiring a pro, are you ready to grab a straight edge and assess your own floor? Transforming an uneven, problematic concrete slab into a beautifully flat subfloor is such a highly rewarding project, and it perfectly sets the stage for your dream renovation. So go check those dips, prep that surface, and get ready to pour. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy leveling!